Hello, welcome back. So today I'm going to chat about my experience with working with RSD Ozzie. Shout out to Ozzie if you're watching this. I'll probably delete this video at some point, but I do think it's important that people who are interested in this sort of content have a little bit of perspective on it. I worked with RSD when I did Vegas Immersion back in, it would have been late 2015. So a while ago, I was 21 years old at the time, and I was doing Vegas Immersion when Todd had the big blow up with RSD and Madison. Madison took over briefly, and then Vegas Immersion I don't believe is happening anymore. But I did an Aussie boot camp when I was in Vegas during that time, and then when I got back to London, by complete coincidence, I met Ozzie in Leicester Square. He was filming for one of his blogs, as one of his video blogs. And I said to Ozzie, hey, if you ever need an assistant, hit me up. He ended up, messaging me a while later, and we ended up traveling to various destinations. I went to Amsterdam with Ozzie. I went to a few European destinations. I did about, I'd say 3 or 4 boot camps with Ozzie in London, as in assisting him. Basically, it was filming in field, and it was sitting there during his breakdowns, and it was traveling with Ozzie and chatting to Ozzie. So I got to know the guy pretty well. And the thing is about Ozzie is that he is so good at one specific aspect, which is fear technology. And fear technology, it's interesting. Ozzie bases it on the book The Art of War by Sun Tzu, which is a book about military strategy and warfare. And if there's one thing you take away from that book, it is burn the boats. The whole book is about how to incentivize other men and incentivize yourself in order to do things. And the one thing Ozzie always said was burn the boats. So he'd do things like he would point out a girl and a guy making out in a club. And Ozzie would be like, I want you to go over there, and for 2 minutes, and he'd have a timer on his watch. He'd have an electronic watch with a timer on it. He'd say, go over and you have to talk to them for 2 minutes. And Ozzie would go over and he'd put his arms around the guy and the girl. He'd be smiling. He'd be chatting away to them. He'd be saying, hey, you guys are great, blah, blah, blah. And then he'd get the students to do the same. So it was crazy scenarios. And he'd get the biggest, scariest looking guys, and then the nicest looking girls to go do this with. So the reason why Ozzie did that was, if you could overcome that, you then come back and you felt like you could do anything. The thing I'd say though is that Ozzie was clearly being taken for a ride by RSD. RSD is a strange cult-like company that I never really... I mean, they did offer me to be a coach, but not an executive coach. They have their proper executive coaches like Jeffy, Madison, that lot, and Julian and all them. But during Vegas Immersion, they had some people which they didn't pay, and they said, hey, do you want to become one of these coaches? Luckily, I didn't get the visa. They did look into a visa for me. I don't think seriously, but luckily I didn't get that visa, because I'd probably be dead in a ditch if I stayed in Vegas for any longer than I did. But the point is that RSD, it didn't impress me very much as a company, because they obviously make a decent amount of revenue, but they don't share that with the poor assistants and some of the coaches. No, I think some of the coaches make a lot of money, like Julian. He's obviously in favor with Tyler, but I don't think Alex RSD was paid very well. I don't think Ozzie RSD was paid very well. And the reason I know that is because, I've had chats with other RSD coaches and things like that. But I think that it's a shame, because RSD is one of the only big sort of dating companies that was spreading a lot of what is now quite toxic sort of red pill stuff on the internet. So the thing I'd say about Ozzie is I hope he's well. I haven't heard from him from a long time. I don't think he's doing the dating coaching anymore. I haven't really seen him around. I hope he's all right, because he was a really decent guy. And I think RSD, as a company, some of the times they treated their coaches quite badly. So I'm quite glad I didn't really get caught up any more than I did. But yeah, I mean, interesting times. I had a great time. 21 in Vegas, playing piano and doing all sorts of stuff was hilarious. So yeah, if anyone else has any experience with RSD, let me know. See you later. Bye.